Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children over the age of 21, welcome to the Hop Nation USA podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam. With me, as always, on the board, running the knobs, making sure that we sound good, Steve.
Oh, don't say making sure we sound good, because I don't know how good this is going to sound this week.
You got to have a little bit of faith in yourself.
Don't put that evil on me.
I've got faith in you. This is going to happen, and it's going to be dynamite.
We'll see what I can do.
So you kind of let the rabbit out of the hat just a little bit early there.
I think the ambiance let the rabbit out of the hat.
Yes, we are not in our normal recording space this episode. We are on location. We are on location at Patrick's Pub here in Moon Township, Pennsylvania.
Yep, wonderful bar.
It is a wonderful bar. That's why we're here.
Been here a lot. Why are we here, Adam?
Sometimes more than I care to admit. We are here to talk about beer.
Okay.
And a specific group that always meets here at Patrick's Pub here in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. We're here to talk about a little beer tasting group. So, of course, with that, it can't just be us. We have to have ourselves a guest host. And we do have a guest. Christine, the head of A Little Beer Tasting Group, welcome.
Hola, thanks for having me.
We are happy to have you. What is A Little Beer Tasting Group? What is that?
It's not self-explanatory.
Solid point.
I have to look at that branding name. I'm in marketing. Jeez, big fail. So A Little Beer Tasting Group is a group of people that like beer. Enjoy tasting beer, and we get together once a month at Patrick's for a couple of hours, and we taste beer. Can I say taste beer one more time?
By all means.
We don't get too bogged down into the details of the beer. Right? When I'm explaining it to people, I tell them that we're more of a social group.
Okay.
With a common interest, right? So we have people from all different backgrounds and all different ages, men and women, so long as they're over 21.
Of course.
We have people from 21 into their 70s. And it's a nice mix of people, and people enjoy just coming out and tasting some beer with friends and getting to make new friends. And it's really very, very light. Like I said, we don't get too bogged down in the details.
That sounds very familiar with what we have here on the podcast.
Well, we'll do good then, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
We'll fit right in.
Again, common interest. And with that, we've gone almost 4 minutes, and we haven't had a beer yet.
Oh, my God.
Okay, well, I guess with that we can introduce our first beer.
Yes.
And being that we're at Patrick's Pub, it only seems right that we drink from their pretty substantial craft list.
I would say an excellent list.
Yeah, consistent.
Yes.
Consistently good. Consistently good.
If somebody asks me, where do you go in Moon Township to grab a beer? This is where you go.
Well, Moon Township, Beaver County,
Well, yeah, they've got a pretty good range.
Yeah, I suggest this place to a lot of people. With that, though, we're going to introduce our first beer. And the first beer that we have is from the Destihl Brewery, a brewery out of Normal, Illinois.
Oh,
Normal?
okay.
Normal, Illinois.
That seems a bit oxymoronic.
No.
Normal, Illinois?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Illinois is pretty plain. outside of Chicago, that's Midwest territory.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Corn country.
Yeah. The only thing that would be more normal is Normal, Ohio. But the beer that we're having from the Destihl Brewery this week is the Wild Sour Cranberry Creek. Creek, not Craig.
Oh, okay.
That's a different beer we had.
It's not like Crick, like the Yinzers would say?
It could be Crick. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that would be pretty common. The Cranberry Creek.
I mean, I'd go swimming in it.
Yeah.
It's from Normal, right? So.
But it is a 5% ABV, 17 IBUs.
A good low number.
Yeah. Well, it's a sour, so it's not going to be too hoppy.
Right.
But they do say that it is made with tart cranberries and sweet cherries, and that it was dry hopped for...
Interesting.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of a citrus aroma and flavor to it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, well, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
It definitely has a nice golden brown color to it.
It's more than golden brown. That's a red. That's a red.
That's a red? You think that's a straight up red? Yeah, it's a straight up red. Okay, all right.
You need to get your eyes worked on.
I really do. I really do.
Yeah, this is pretty much a red ale due to the cherries and the cranberries. Mm-hmm. On the nose, I do get a little bit of that hoppiness.
Yeah, but it's definitely beat up by the sourness. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
You can tell it's much more tart than it is hoppy.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
There's not much of a head, though.
No,
No.
there isn't. I'm going to blame myself for that one. I poured these out a little bit ago.
Well, we had to do a little glass transfer, but yeah.
Right. Since this was from the tap, we had to do a little transferring. When it came from the tap, I did notice it did have a good amount of head. It was a classic off-white. Nothing unexpected. But obviously, since it's on tap, you're going to be able to adjust the amount of head that you get.
Sure.
Steve, you seem to be investigating something.
I'm just trying to see any more notes I can pull out of the nose before I actually drink it.
Huh.
I'm just getting a lot of fruit flavors and everything.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Now, see, I think it just smells good. Remember I told you we don't get too bogged down into the details?
Sometimes you just
Right?
got to enjoy a good
Does
beer.
it smell good? Yes.
This is going to be an episode much more geared toward Adam's sensibilities of it's good.
I have zero problem with that.
I know you do. It's your sensibilities.
I do subscribe to them pretty much every day. Shall we?
Yep. Let's take a
shall.
taste.
Bottoms up? Yes.
I love it.
It's got that tartness,
Yeah.
and it's also got that dryness right along with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like that tart sour beer.
Usually I don't.
But I went through a phase, because we go through phases
Right.
with what we like.
Oh, absolutely.
So I went through a phase a few years ago when I was liking the Petrus aged pale, all those tart types of beers. And then, I got into ryes and stouts and things like that. And it was hard to go back to the sour. This one makes me want to go back.
I like it.
This is
I like
awesome.
it. I am currently in a sour phase, so I am all about this right now. I'll be perfectly honest.
Ooh, I think that's great.
I don't dislike it.
I mean, for a guy that doesn't
Yeah.
like sours,
Yeah, for a person who doesn't like sours, this is actually pretty good.
that's some pretty high praise.
I will say, Destihl seems to have a huge list of sours.
I noticed that while we were looking this one up.
Yeah, so
Untapped has a huge array of options there, so make sure you know which one you're getting.
yeah, but definitely check it out. I guess if this one's this good, then the other ones could be
It's time to try different ones.
Yeah, I could be convinced to try other ones because I'm enjoying this one.
Okay then.
So he's enjoying it. For somebody who doesn't like sours and
right.
he's enjoying it, that's awesome.
That
That's
is
how
high
you know this
praise.
is an awesome beer.
Yes, exactly.
It's not too tart, and that's like a big selling point for me.
It has that tartness
Right.
without punching you in the face. I like
There you
that.
go. Yeah,
This is-
because
this
there's a
is
lot
much-
that will punch you in the face. Then people look at me like, you're crazy. I can't believe you like this stuff. What's wrong with you? And I said, don't you like sweet tarts? Tastes like sweet tarts.
That is a very good way of putting this. This is a good sweet tart beer.
Yeah, this is kind of in the candy realm.
Yeah. We need to have a candy episode.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay. All right.
We do every other.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, we make it any kind of theme up we want. So
It is our show. So, while we sip on this a little bit,
Mine's already gone. Can I have some more?
by all means.
you have to ask Rob. He's got.
I better have sitting back there. Bring it over.
We all done? Or you still working?
Say hi to the fans.
So, while you're pouring
Yeah.
round 1.5, we'll call it round 1.5.
Okay.
So, we kind of covered a little bit already of what a Little Beer Tasting Group is, who they are, what they try to do, what it is that your purpose is. It's just to enjoy beer. Well, there has to be a little bit more into that. And I guess one of the questions that I have, because I've been to multiple events, Steve and I have been here for multiple months,
Sure.
and we plan on being at the next one.
We like
So
to hear that.
Be ready for that. But
Beer ready?
okay. But whenever you put together the beer list, usually it's 5 or 6 beers per night. How do you put together what beers you want to sample?
So it is 6 beers.
Okay.
We taste 4-ounce samples, so total 24 ounces.
Okay.
So nobody's going to get drunk off of this, hopefully. I can't control what you do outside of this, but for the tasting, you won't get drunk. And I like that we taste the 4-ounce beers because if you don't like it, you didn't really waste anything, right? You're just taking a sip. Like if you went out to a bar, maybe you would spend $6, $7, $8 or more for a beer and then not like it, right?
Right.
So anyway, so how do we come up with the list? Well, that's easy. I let Shawn do that. So Shawn is the owner of Patrick's.
Okay.
For those of our audience who don't know. And, I'm independent of Patrick's. I do this group independently of that. I'm my own, shall we say, business, but I partner with Patrick's and with Shawn to be able to host the Little Beer Tasting Group.
Okay.
And, it has to make sense for both of us. So I count on Shawn to pick the beers that he wants to showcase, maybe, or things that are more popular, hopefully, that people want to come back in for.
Okay.
Right? So,
I can tell you that in the past there have been beers that I have sampled here that I went out and got again. So
it works. So the system works.
He set the hook nicely.
that's why we're here we're starting our 4th year next week.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. Because last episode, last meeting, we did have a bit of a celebration that we did complete 3 years
Yes.
of a Little Beer Tasting Group, and now we're on to year 4. I guess that takes us all the way back to the beginning. How did this get started? What prompted you to say, hey, I want to get together with a bunch of friends, drink some beers?
Who wouldn't, first of all?
That is also true.
So I'm going to take you back a little bit.
Okay.
Several years ago, way before 3 years ago, when we first started a Little Beer Tasting Group.
All right.
About 5 years before that, let me think about this, 5, maybe 6 years before that, I started a beer tasting group called Pittsburgh Brewmasters. Did you guys know that? I don't know if we talked about that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it was called Pittsburgh Brewmasters, and I started that group because I had gone to somebody else's beer tasting on the other side of Pittsburgh.
All right.
So, as typical Pittsburgh fashion, to go through 2 tunnels on a school night, it's a late night. I want to come home. I've been drinking. I want to come home safe.
Right.
So it was a little difficult to head out that way all the time, and we enjoyed it, but it was hard to get out there. So I thought I could do this in my own neighborhood. Closer to home, I could run the show. Imagine that.
You can call the
Hopefully
shots.
people will want to come. But I reached out to a restaurant called the Sharp Edge.
Okay,
And,
I'm familiar with that.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so worked with them, worked with Hart, who's their beer guy at the time, and we teamed up to put on a show every month. And then they opened the restaurant down in Peters Township.
Okay.
So we were doing it twice a month at the one in Crafton and the one down at Peters Township.
Okay.
So I ran that for 4 years. And life changes. You get a different job, or you get involved in different things, and it's hard to keep up the things that you do sometimes. So I decided it was going to be the end of Pittsburgh Brewmasters, and somebody actually bought the organization from me and tried to carry it on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so they made their own twist to it, right, and ran it for about a year, and then they decided they'd had enough. So the beer tasting group was kind of in limbo at that point. But a few years later, somebody came to me and said, boy, we really missed that. There was a lot of fun when you did that. You should do that again. And I thought, well, it's several years later. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years later. And I had a different job, and life changes again. And I thought, why not? So I talked with my better half, Rob, and so what do you think if we do this again? And he was very supportive, and I kept thinking, what am I going to name this group? Pittsburgh Brewmasters. I love that name.
Right. That sounds very,
Official.
Yeah.
Like it has a lot of clout to it.
Yeah, but I guess somebody once took offense to that because I got this nasty email at how dare we call ourselves brewmasters.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Because there's a lot of training that goes involved in that. How dare we? I'm like, dude, get a freaking life. We're just trying to have fun.
Just drinking some beers.
So, but I didn't want to go back to the Brewmasters name because I figured that had been there, done that.
Right.
So I thought, what am I going to call this group? And I thought back to the history, and I thought every time I talked about Pittsburgh Brewmasters and tried to explain it, I would say, oh, it's a little beer tasting group that I run and do this, do that. And I thought, why not go with that? Because I couldn't think of anything else. So it is a little beer tasting group, and I think it implies that it's friendly, and not.
It definitely does.
Yeah,
yes.
not like I said, not overly bogged down in the details.
Right.
That's kind of how this all got started.
Okay. Well, we're glad that you did.
Thank you.
Part of the Little Beer Tasting Group, we don't just always taste things from Pat's Pub.
Right.
Sometimes homebrewers will bring things in. Is that something that was a part of Brewmasters as well? Or has that always been an element of homebrewers trying to showcase themselves? Or is that something where Pat's opened their doors in a way?
This is really something unique to a Little Beer Tasting Group. When I ran Pittsburgh Brewmasters, we did a homebrew challenge where we would invite people to submit their best home brews. It wasn't anything technical. It was really just based on the taste of the people who were in attendance that night. So if most of the people hated IPAs and you brought an IPA, you lost. Yeah. So I wanted to carry that tradition over to a little beer tasting group. So we've hosted, I think 3 now, homebrew challenges. But I think our brewers really enjoyed sharing what they made, and getting the feedback.
I can tell you that for Steve and I, that was actually the first event that we came to.
Remember.
And it was an absolute blast. And you're 100% correct. You get to share your beer with people, and sometimes it's interesting when you share it with friends. They'll always be
nice.
supportive. Right.
Yeah.
But in something like this, you kind of expose yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't know how people are
you're
actually
very
going
vulnerable.
to react.
Right,
Yes.
right. So I'll get to the question about people bringing their beers in a second, but while we're on this, the homebrew challenge is really fun. I tell people when they participate, like, this is not a technical thing, right? So be prepared. Submit whatever beer you want, whatever you think is your best, whatever you think you can win with, if that's your goal. But if you want to just come and have a good time and hear what people have to say, these are novices, most of them, you know. So they'll tell you if they like it, they'll tell you if they don't like it, but it's all in fun, and it's all good-natured and friendly. So nobody's going to say your beer sucked, or, you were stupid for brewing this, or you have no talent, don't quit your day job. No, nobody's going to do that. But it's always fun, and we do pick a winner, and like I said, the winner isn't always the best beer. Sometimes it's just what people like.
True.
And that's okay.
Although I will say, from our experience during the last homebrew event, there wasn't a bad one in the bunch.
No, there wasn't.
And for those homebrewers out there was a mix of all grain and extract kits, or not kits, but extract recipes out there. So you don't have to be an expert.
Right.
You just have to be able to create a beer that is your own.
And you have to have the guts to be able to put it in front of people, and that takes a lot. And I always tell the brewers, thank you so much for doing this, because you do put yourself on the line out there. You open yourself up to criticism, but you know what, you should be proud no matter what you submit, because you submitted it.
Right. You made it.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun, but I think they really enjoyed that. So some of our home brewers now, if they're brewing a batch, they'll bring some for us to sample. So very often we have, an extra beer or two at the end of the night.
Bonus beers. Everybody loves bonus beers.
But I just want to share, and see what people have to say. So we love that, and we welcome that, definitely.
So with that, has there been anybody in the past that has kind of moved from home brewing on to the next step?
Yeah, there has been.
Okay.
Nice segue. So our friend Scott Mills, Scott and his friend Denny actually met us when we were doing Pittsburgh Brewmasters.
Okay.
They would come out, and when we started a little beer tasting group, they came back. Denny comes actually from Sharon, PA.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a trip.
Okay.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. We think he's probably the one that comes from the longest drive. We were always telling him we can put him up, if the weather's bad, or he can't drive, but he always seems to do okay. But anyway, Scott Mills started coming here with Denny, and then he won our first homebrew challenge.
Okay.
I can't remember the beer off the top of my head, but it was a Belgian style beer. It wasn't long after that when he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about opening up this brewery. That's my dream. I want to open up this brewery. I think I'm going to make it happen." So he did, and he went on to open Cobble House Brewery down in Coriopolis. They are coming up on their 1-year anniversary in April. So I like to take credit for the fact that brewery is there, because I think we gave him the confidence he needed to push through and make his dream a reality.
Well, we on the show appreciate that, because Scott was actually the first live episode we ever did.
Oh, I didn't
on the
realize that.
podcast.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
And it was very interesting talking with him, just saying what inspired him to move on to the next step. And it was also interesting because while we were recording, he was also brewing at the same time. So there was 1 or 2 pauses where he'd have to say, "All right, I got to stop for 2 or 3 minutes. I got to go take care of this." Okay, great, no problem. Come back and we'll start up again.
He was doing the same thing on Saturday when we were there.
Oh, really?
He'd come out, we'd sit at the bar, and he'd say, "Okay, time out, gotta go." Then he'd come back and we'd pick up our conversation just like before.
It's almost like he's got it down to a science now.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, and he makes some really good beers.
Yes, he does.
So,
He does.
we're really happy that he opened his own brewery. We're trying to convince our friend Tom to do the same. He won actually homebrew challenge number 2 and 3.
Okay.
So funny story, and I don't know if you know this. I may have said this in one of the times that you had come, but on the second homebrew challenge, our friend Jack submitted a beer. And then he told his neighbor Tom about the homebrew challenge. So Tom submitted a beer, and Jack placed second.
Oh no.
Behind the person
And
he
Tom
invited.
placed first. So there's this continuing, kind of like hard feeling undertone thing about how if I didn't invite Tom, I would have been the winner. So we resurrect that story every once in a while. But Tom came back. I think the first year was an apricot wheat, if I remember correctly. And then the second year he made cream ale. That's what it was. Yeah,
I remember that one.
Tom knows the magic formula, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's really great, though, as a part of what A Little Beer Tasting Group does. For Adam and I, we actually have been a part of bigger competitions where with official judges and everything like that. I think for us, it's a lot easier to just submit to people now and like find out, just to hear their feedback in general. But for anybody who's never done that before, I think it's really good to just get a general sense of, that social aspect and just kind of the community feeling towards your beer. And then you can learn to, move up if you want.
Sure.
But I think that's a really cool thing that your group does for people who are novices and just want to find out what I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Is this good? I don't.
It's one thing when you're brewing it at home for yourself and maybe your family or friends, right?
Right.
Like you said earlier, Adam, people will try
friends
to be
will
nice
always
to
be
you.
nice.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But when you put it out there to strangers, they'll still be nice, but they'll give you an honest opinion.
Right.
So,
And especially when it's people that like beer, they're obviously here for the beer.
Right.
So
they feel qualified to talk about it.
Well, yeah. And especially, people that enjoy craft beer and the homebrewers themselves, it's almost like a sense of community.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing.
Yep.
And honestly, I find more value in the public's opinion than I do, like a 5-star restaurant, like
Some
a
beer
restaurateur,
Right.
like a really beer snob. Because I don't know, I for some reason I just feel like I can't trust judges, but I can trust somebody who's right there by me.
Yeah.
If they're being nice to my face, then I assume that they actually like it. If I see them drink it and say that's interesting and then walk away,
That's a strong signal.
I go, oh, okay, well, hey,
We tried.
that's fine.
Unfortunately, I'm seeing that our glasses are pretty much empty now. But that means a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that seems to me like we like the beer.
Yeah, I like the beer. I actually liked it. It's not my favorite thing that I've ever had.
I would imagine not, especially somebody that does not like sours.
Right.
You didn't sip it, say, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Instead of,
exactly.
And walk away.
Yeah, he has an empty glass there.
Yeah.
True. He's actually beaten me.
Yeah, I do like it. It just, I hadn't, I would choose it over other things.
Fair.
I would choose it over macro brews every day, I guess, but this is definitely a good beer because it's a cranberry. I was thinking this is probably a good beer to go with like Thanksgiving.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Definitely.
Yeah, this is something you pop out if you're not a wine drinker.
That's a very good way of putting it. This seems like a very good wine alternative.
Yeah.
So
it's a
for-
good, yeah.
So for me, I think that it goes really great with the apple crisp I made last night.
Okay.
Cran apple flavor. Yeah, I'm seeing that. You might have to take some of that home.
So dessert beer, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Dessert beer pairing, Thanksgiving beer pairing.
So what do you say we take a quick break, refill the glasses,
Yes.
get the recipe for the apple crisp,
Okay.
and we'll be back for segment 2.
Okie doke.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back, Hop Nation. Welcome back, Hop Nation. We are here for episode 47. Steve, since I'm the one that's introducing stuff, it is time for you to come up with a sports reference for episode 47. You got nothing?
No, that's not my bid. I don't do the sports reference.
So I gotta come up.
Instead, I'll do the video game reference.
Then give me a video game reference here.
47 would be the code number for Agent 47 in the Hitman series.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
See, there you go.
All right then. This worked out quite well.
That's how that bit works. You say something, you make a reference to something I don't get, I make a reference to something you don't get.
And then we move right along.
All right then.
So, we are here. We're talking A Little Beer Tasting Group.
Where are we here?
We are here at Patrick's Pub.
There you go.
In Moon Township, Pennsylvania. A hidden gem.
Yeah, it really is.
No doubt about it. A neighborhood bar. I'd consider it a neighborhood bar,
Yeah, definitely.
but it's a little bit more than that.
It's very cozy.
Yes, it's a cozy bar
Cozy
with
neighborhood bar.
with a fantastic beer selection.
And also really good food.
Oh,
Yes, the
absolutely.
Reuben.
Yeah,
And good
Aces.
service. Good
Yeah.
service.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they do have probably my favorite Reuben in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah,
There's a couple places I've yet to try yet, but this is number one for me.
I like it.
I'm also excited because I'm going to get having salmon BLT as soon as we're done here.
So is that the end of the segment? And then we'll jump into segment 3, and then it's time for dinner?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Hop Nation. We'll see you next week.
Bye. I need a Sando. Hold up.
We're here at Patrick's Pub. We are talking A Little Beer Tasting Group with the head of A Little Beer Tasting Group, Christine. Welcome back again.
Oh, thanks again for having me.
So now it is time to talk beer again.
Okay.
So we have our second selection from the tabs
Yeah.
at Patrick's. This is the Four Seasons Coffee Porter. Four Seasons is actually a Pittsburgh local beer, so keep that in mind. If and when you come here, they not only have the big national brands, but they also dive into the local scene as well,
That's right.
which is pretty darn awesome. I like that.
Yeah. That's
That variety.
Yeah, supporting local, but also, anything big you can find here is cool.
Yeah. I mean, they've got stuff from Great Divide, they've got Smutty Nose, and they've also got your regular VFW beers.
And I'm pretty sure they do have a PBR special.
I think they do, yes. Yes, and I'm
So-
actually looking, they have a Strom special here
Yeah.
on Saturdays.
And hockey specials and,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, neighborhood bar.
Yeah.
So, but this one, this is the coffee porter from Four Seasons. 5.5% ABV.
Okay.
IBUs are a little bit higher than what we had the last go around, 25.
All right.
So,
Yeah, barely higher.
right, but it has to be said.
Yeah. And any word on, do you know what coffee is being used, or is it
No.
also locally sourced? Or okay.
You know what, for sake of conversation, sure.
All right.
I mean, that makes sense. I've had other Four Seasons beers before,
Yeah.
and that kind of seems like their MO.
Okay.
Locally
right.
sourced,
Yeah,
locally
yeah.
utilized.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Where are they growing coffee beans locally?
Well, just buy them from somebody local.
Just joking.
Buy it from another store. I'm thinking like Full Pint. They have their Luxuria that they did in conjunction with Black Forge.
Yes, which
Yeah.
I've yet to be to Black Forge. I still need to go there.
Yeah, well, yeah. But shout out to Nick and Black Forge.
Exactly.
We had him on a previous episode. So.
So on to this beer, the Four Seasons Coffee Porter.
Oh.
Looks like it looks
like
more
a
like a
porter.
stout.
Well, I mean,
It's pretty dark.
actually,
Shut up. Shut up, nerd.
it is quite dark. You can let a little bit of light in at the right angle. Head is a very light tan.
Mm-hmm.
This is the picture perfect example of what a porter would look like.
Yeah, it's a nice tight creamy head.
Yeah, there's no sense in describing it any better than that. On the nose, you can definitely
It's all coffee.
sense the coffee. So they're pulling no punches on that.
Yeah.
Shall we? Yep.
It's interesting.
And then you put it back down. Really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. It has a good coffee flavor, but it's also really thin.
I agree.
I know what you mean. I
Yeah.
know what you mean.
Yeah. I'm not poo-pooing it exactly yet.
Let it
Yeah.
run through a little bit. Maybe it needs to warm up a degree or two.
Yeah, I'm willing to let it warm up.
Right.
It just it seems really thin at the moment, and it starts with almost like a black Waffle House coffee flavor, but it dissipates really quickly.
You think that maybe is part of the thinness of it?
I think so.
Okay.
Like for me, I really like just all the way through coffee. Like I
Well,
like big, heavy coffee flavor. So
that wouldn't surprise me that this seems a little bit on the thinner side.
Yeah.
I don't want to say weak, because weak is a bad word for this beer.
well, that's not. I don't think it's a bad word to say weak, because
say it.
for people who don't love coffee that hard, this could be good for them.
And I am one of those people.
Yeah.
So that would explain why, because I don't go with your Death Wish coffee that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. I have a bag of $20 coffee that it's called Death Wish coffee.
It's really called Death Wish coffee?
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Death Wish coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, it was the most caffeinated coffee that you could get, and I used to drink it black. So,
So was it just the caffeine, or was it that strong?
oh, it was strong. It was brutal.
So I like coffee, but I'm not a coffee person. I like tea mostly. And oddly, this tastes a little weak to me.
Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's not, like you said, I don't want to use that in a bad way because it's not a bad beer.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, because I like stouts and I've sampled a lot of stouts, I've had things that are more robust.
Right.
Right.
Like, they use the term mouthfeel, right?
Yeah.
And this is a good beer, but having known all those other beers now, this one doesn't necessarily compare with the other ones that
It
I
just
like.
comes up against different competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And again, I think we've been running into this more, but this fits more of the definition of a porter, which is something, a stout that's under 7%. And this is 5.5. So again, you're looking at a smaller grain bill, which is why it's thinner. I think this is good for people who may not want those big, robust, heavy, like I love them, but
Right.
not everybody likes to just, go into a coma after.
Have 400 calories worth of beer in a 6-ounce glass.
Exactly. I like those big beers with like a stack of pancakes and then I nap. So-
Right. This is not a pancake beer.
Right.
This is not a pancake beer by any stretch of the imagination. But let's warm this up a little bit. Maybe we can catch something when it gets into the 40s or something like that. But I say it's time we talk a little bit more beer.
Okay.
A little bit more of the Little Beer Tasting Group. Cool.
And get a little more personal and find out more about Christine herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy.
For example,
Okay.
we've been talking beer and what it took for you to get into the beer tasting game. But how did you get into the beer game in general? What sparked that interest to just start looking into craft beer and enjoying craft beer in general?
Well, when I was 4 years old, my dad gave me my first sip of beer. That's a true story.
Okay.
So I blame him.
Yeah.
It's my grandfather in Budweiser. I know that game.
It actually was Heineken. But
Dad was classy in the back.
yes, who knew, right? And I remember it vividly. I remember it very vividly. My mom and dad used to like to go down to Waterford Park, the horse races.
Okay.
Okay. And they'd come back, it'd be 10, 11 o'clock at night, maybe later they'd come back. I remember Dad sitting on the couch, sipping a beer, and I was right beside him because I was awake because Mom and Dad came home. And I remember him saying, "Here, you want a sip?" And I remember tasting it and thinking it was the worst thing I ever had. Which is probably why I never did the parties in high school and the whole deal, right? Because I was like, no, I'm over that. But how did I get into beer? I don't know. When I turned 21, I was the Coors Light girl. I mean, I was not the Coors Light girl, but that's
Oh, wow. Celebrity.
but that's the beer I was drinking at the time, and here you are at 21, you can go out and order beer. Boy, isn't that cool, right? And those are the days of the Sports Garden down in Station Square, and Mario's on the South Side was huge, and we were just having a ball going around ordering our Coors Lights. And then one day I was introduced, I'm going to mention them again, to the Sharp Edge. And the Sharp Edge, had a bunch of Belgian beers and all these craft beers that I never even knew existed, right?
Many Coors Light drinkers have fallen at the hands of Sharp Edge.
Yeah.
So, I tasted my first Stella, and I thought that was great. Now I'm like, oh, I can't even go back to that. But no, really, just going there, I think, and enjoying the food and enjoying the beers, and just being willing to try different things, and actually doing the beer tastings is what brought me up to where I am now. Because in a year, if we do 12 tastings, we're tasting 72 beers.
That's a heck of a spread.
Fast
Yeah.
education.
That's an okay number.
72. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an okay number. I mean, I think I've done 500 in a year, but hey.
That's a lot of beer.
Yeah, well, hey, I was trying to get that 1,000 badge on Untapped.
And you got it successfully. Yeah. So I think many people have gone down that same path. A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think just in general for the Sharp Edge, like that was one of the first places I kind of found in Pittsburgh that had craft, and more they're focused on Belgian and imports like that.
Right. And a place where you have the big Belgians and imports, you just got to dive right in.
Yeah, I don't think they give you much of a choice, really. Like, I can't honestly remember if they have, like, macros on tap.
I have no idea. Of course,
Yeah.
why would you look in the first place?
Right, so, yeah, it's not a big deal to me anymore,
Right.
so
yeah.
I don't care. But
that page just doesn't exist.
yeah, but, yeah, definitely cool. Just happening upon the sharp edge kind of turned you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that you've gotten accustomed to beer that way, and you've pretty much gone through all the styles, I'm assuming, is there anything particular that sticks out to you? Like, is there any beers that you go to automatically?
Well, number one, it depends on what's on tap, right?
Okay.
So, as a warm up to my answer, I think it's funny about how you start to taste beer, right? And being the Coors Light girl, that's what you know, right? That mass produced lager style beer, okay.
Swill.
Yeah, it's okay, right? But then as you start to explore more, you find more things that you like. So I mentioned I had gone on from like the Coors Light, the Corona, to the Stella Artois. It delved into Belgians a little bit, and it's funny how, like, when you taste something else and you're like, wow, that tastes good, right? And then you stick with that style for a while, and then, you taste something else. It's, I like this now. So what's fascinating to me is how your palate changes as you become more educated, or maybe it just depends on what you taste and what you like. I've gone through phases where, I was all about the Belgians, and then I was all about the sour Belgians, and then here's this wheat beer. I really love the wheat beers, and don't put fruit in it though. But I really like the wheat beers. And then, I remember going off into maybe a little bit of hoppiness, a little rye PA, and I was always the person that said I don't like stouts or I don't like a dark beer, right? And I would never drink a dark beer. Well, lo and behold, those are one of my favorites now, right? So here I am. So, but I'm finding out, boy, I like that coffee, or I like that coffee and vanilla, or I like that smoky flavor in that beer. So it's quite amazing to me. When talking about dark beers, so often people will say, like me, I don't drink dark beers. I don't like dark beers. So my response would be, what does dark taste like? Dark is not a flavor.
Right.
You might drink coffee, you might drink a Coke. Those are dark drinks,
True, very
right?
true.
So you can't say you don't like dark.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just all about how you go along the journey, I think, and expose yourself to different tastes. And over time, your palate changes, and you do find out you end up liking these things that you said you never would.
I think that also kind of speaks to the inventiveness of brewers as well.
Oh, they're just going buck wild.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you may have never thought that something could be in a beer.
Right.
And then, like, you start trying that, and then it becomes more prevalent. I think, it wasn't too long ago that you never saw coconut in beers.
And now
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
But now it's in, like, every porter.
Yeah.
I'm liking the jalapeno now.
Yeah, Peppers
definitely.
is huge nowadays.
In fact, one of our home brewers brought in, I think it was for the homebrew challenge, Jack brought the chocolate stout with the jalapeno. Remember that? And I loved it. And then Rob and I went to dinner at a restaurant locally recently, and they had donut holes for dessert.
Okay.
And it was 3 cinnamon, 3 sugar, and 3 glazed. And they gave you a chocolate sauce to dip with jalapeno in.
Ooh,
nice.
Which reminded me of the stout, right?
Well, I guess the important question is, where was this restaurant, and do they still do this?
Yes, they do. And it's called Off the Hook. Off the Warrendale exit.
I know exactly where that's at.
Oh, it was excellent. Very pricey, but excellent. It was a special
I'll check it
occasion.
out.
Got to treat yourself.
Okay.
It's my new favorite restaurant, but I'll never be able to eat there.
So, beyond beer, what else do you like to do beyond beer? I mean, we've been talking about it pretty much all episode, but that makes sense. This is a beer podcast. But beyond beer, what do you like to do? Where do you like to spend your time?
One of the things that people might be surprised to know is that I do all my own home improvements.
Oh, okay.
So I bought this house like 9 years ago in Moon Township, and I thought, okay, this is a nice house. Someday I'm going to change that kitchen floor, and I'm going to change those countertops, and then it'll be the perfect house for me.
Right.
Well, I kind of moved in after the people moved out. Well, I got into the house after the people moved out, and I was like, no, I'm going to redo those hardwood floors. So redid all the hardwood floors in the house, which of course then I had to replace all the trim in the house. And then as I'm there, I'm looking at the kitchen saying, wow, those cabinets really don't match the other side of the kitchen. So those are going to have to come out. Boy, yeah, that floor needs replaced.
Kept
the next thing I knew, I was getting my kitchen. And then next thing I knew, we're doing work on the bedrooms. And then I was getting the bathroom. And then I gutted the basement. So, yes, it's been an endless project that I think is slowly coming to an end. I don't think there's much more to do. It's to the point now where I'm painting things that I painted years ago, right? So I'm cycling around, right. But I enjoy that. Surprisingly, I didn't have any training or anything. I just figured I had 2 hands and a brain and I could figure it out. And I could talk to people and I could go online. And I always said if I ever had any trouble, I would hire somebody at that point.
Right.
Well, I was smart enough to hire for plumbing and electric. But the rest of it, I found people to help me and it worked out pretty good. So, so my house has been one endless project. But I like to be able to stand back and say, wow, I did that. Yeah,
that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, every once in a while I'm like, I can't believe I put those cabinets in the kitchen. Screwed that countertop in place, But so it's a lot of work, but I enjoy that. The other thing that I do is I just started, let me think about this, September, October, taking guitar lessons.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so I took violin lessons years ago. When I turned 30, I said I want to learn how to play an instrument. So I took violin lessons for 5 years. And I got to the point where I figured I was as good as I was going to get, right? I'm not going to be playing in the symphony. Like, this is about where it is for me. And as I mentioned earlier, life changes. You become busy with other things. So I kind of gave that up. And then probably over the past 3 or 4 years, I thought I'd like to play guitar. So I made it happen one day. And I still, it's funny, it makes me feel like a dork, right? So I think I'm all bad, I could do all this stuff and I'm like Wonder Woman and I'm good at everything I do. And then I try to play music and I realize how uncoordinated I am, how I really have no musical ability as much as I like to think that I do. But it's fun for me. It's something that I do for myself. Oftentimes I'm out volunteering somewhere or I'm working somewhere and there isn't a lot of time for myself, right? So I think it's important for people to take that time. And this is one thing that I do where I go for an hour once a week and I practice through the week and I could say, that's all about me.
Okay.
So that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That's cool because also, like you said, you feel like you're good at everything else. It's nice to have something that challenges you.
Oh, it's absolutely a challenge. So I'm learning chords, right? And I'm learning how to switch fingers between chords fast enough that you could play the song, And it's coming. There's songs that I work better than others, but all in all, like I said, it's just something that's challenging and fun, and it's something new, and I think we all need to step outside of our boxes every once in a while and try something that makes us uncomfortable.
Well, I can tell you as somebody that has no idea how to play guitar, you are way ahead of me.
Thank you. That makes me feel good. See, so you could look at me and say, Christine, you're good.
You are good.
Maybe you'll come to my lessons with me, talk me up a little bit.
You can do it. I believe in you.
And then you can eventually bring the guitar to one of our meetings. And
yeah, that would be scary. You guys weren't at the one where I sang the national anthem, were you?
No, I don't think so.
But I feel that there's a story behind that.
Yeah. So one of the other things I enjoy doing is volunteering for animal rescue organizations.
Okay.
And at the time, I was volunteering for a group called PART, Pittsburgh Aviation Animal Rescue Team. And so we took one of our beer tasting nights and turned it into a fundraiser. Okay, so we were able to get all the beer donated and all the prizes donated. So the ticket price, the entire ticket price went to the organization.
Oh, all right.
So we have very good partners around with some of our wholesalers. CriekFour wholesaling is really generous when we do those kind of things. The other ones are as well. I specifically call them out because they've helped us with our fundraisers. But we had a friend of mine, John Wytrack, come and sing for us, and he plays all kinds of contemporary songs, and I think he's really great, and I always enjoy listening to him. And I was standing at the microphone. Don't put a microphone in front of me, because I am not shy. But I was talking in the microphone because there was one that day, and somebody said, sing something. So me being this closet karaoke person, Okay, I've never sung karaoke, but I want to so badly, right? But I'm afraid how bad I'll sound. So here I am in front of the microphone. Somebody says, sing something, sing something. And the first song that comes to mind is the national anthem. And of course, we know how easy that is to sing. So I'm singing, and I know it sucks, right? And at this point, I don't care, because it's the national anthem. I'm very patriotic. I do whatever I can to support our veterans, deservedly so. I mean, I'm not going to dive into this, but people might be unaware. There are 22 veterans a day who are committing suicide, right? And they need our help. Different story, but so I'm singing the national anthem. I don't care how much it sucks. I love my country. I'm very patriotic. And do you know, people in that room and that little beer tasting night, they all stood up and sang with me.
That's awesome.
Well, I think it would. I mean, it gives me goosebumps, awesome. But I really think they were trying to drown me out. But I think, wow, that's the first time I sung in public. I know I sucked, but I did it.
So have you gone to karaoke since then?
Just by chance, not intentionally.
Just happened to show up.
And then I watched the other people up there, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready to make a fool out of myself yet.
So one last question.
Yeah.
With the Little Beer Tasting Group, do you have any future plans for it? Bigger, better, faster, stronger?
I always like the idea of world domination. But,
so do we.
We didn't name it Pop Nation PA.
But I don't know. I kind of like this little group that we have. We're always looking for new people to join us. And you don't have to be a member. You can pop in for one tasting. So there's no dues or anything like that. We do charge a fee to attend. But we're always like I said, we're always looking for new people. But I don't want to grow this too big. Because I think then the closeness of it tends to fade, right? And
loses the essence.
Yeah, and then I don't remember people's names. It's a challenge sometimes anyway. But I always viewed it like people were coming to my house. So when we're here at Patrick's and we're in the restaurant, people are coming in, sitting down, and they're getting food to eat. I want to know these people. If you come by yourself, I want to make sure that you sit with somebody, so you're not sitting by yourself. So I'll introduce you to somebody. So it's like people are coming to my living room, and I want to make sure they're taken care of, right? So and at the end, it's really neat, because when I introduce people, and then I see them as friends on Facebook, right? I think, wow, those people became friends, and those people became friends. So, in some weird way, it makes me feel good that I'm bringing people together, and that's really what it's about. We just want to come together and have a good time.
Hey, we get to drink beer.
Exactly.
Speaking of,
yeah.
the Four Seasons Coffee Porter.
Yes.
What do you guys think? Now that we had a chance to warm it up a little bit.
I think it smells better when it's warm. I think it definitely tastes better when it's warm. It doesn't feel so weak to me now that it's a little warmer.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. Like, it does have a bit more of a coffee flavor now that it's warmer. It's not so cold. I enjoy, that's the thing with stouts and porters. We say it over in time, like beating a dead horse, but always let those be served warmer.
Right. Let it breathe a little bit.
Let it breathe a bit. And it definitely got better as it did.
It did.
It smells stronger. The coffee flavor is much more pronounced all throughout the tasting.
I agree that it has gotten a lot better from when we first poured it to now.
Yeah, I still think it's on the thin side, but again, I don't want to say, it's weak as a negative. I want to say, it's weak for people who don't want to have like super heavy beers.
Fair.
And that's one of the most common misconceptions, like Christine already kind of touched on, with people who say they don't drink dark beer. They think it's because it's super heavy. Right.
And
this isn't. So people should check that out.
Right.
It's not a super heavy beer.
You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah. So I definitely suggest it for anybody. It's not my favorite coffee beer because I like things heavier and I like things more powerful. But I think it's really good for anybody who's looking to try a coffee beer.
So you think maybe kind of a gateway into the coffee realm?
Yeah, sure.
Okay then.
Yeah.
All right. Easy
Yeah, sure.
So let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be back for segment 3. And maybe we'll have ourselves a second special guest. Stay tuned, Hop Nation. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
All right, welcome back, Hop Nation, to the beautiful episode 47. One bigger than 46, two bigger than 45.
And 5 away from the year anniversary.
Yeah, we're going to have to start ramping up on that. So we are quickly approaching that, but that is future worries.
Yeah.
Right now we're worried about episode 47. We are here at Patrick's Pub here in Boone Township. We are talking a little beer tasting group and Christine, and for this segment we have an additional special guest. So Shawn, the owner and operator of Patrick's Pub here in Boone Township, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So what we're going to do here is we always have three beers as part of the podcast, so it is time for us to dive into beer number 3, and that honor goes to Steve once again to introduce the third beer of the evening. So Steve, what are we drinking for segment 3?
So the third beer we're going to have tonight is the Oskar Blues Barrel Aged 1050.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is a relatively new release from Oskar Blues, I believe. I believe it just came out last year, 2017.
Yes, it is within the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, so it's taken their 1050, and which is normally known for its 10.5 ABV, but it actually ramps it up a bit. This was going to be a 12.9.
Oh my.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it also ramps the normal 1050's IBUs of 65 up to 98.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's going to be a little bit extra from the 1050.
I'm all right with that.
But yeah, Oskar Blues, known from Longmont, Colorado.
I have nothing additional
I'm just
to
saying
add.
that.
No, I
That's
like
where
that.
the brewery's at. It's from Longmont, Colorado.
So just a friendly reminder, everybody, all of the beers that we've been drinking here tonight have been on tap here at Patrick's.
Yeah.
So,
One of my favorite things about Patrick's is they will have these big heavy hitters.
oh yes.
On tap, available all the
So
time.
let's get into the beer itself here. This is obviously another crude oil beer.
Yeah, this is crude oil to the point that it just kind of sticks to the side of the glass. It has that real thick cappuccino
Yeah,
head to it.
I have a hunch the Four Seasons Coffee Porter is not going to hold a candle in terms of mouthfeel on this thing.
No. This is going to be more like chewing food as compared to just drinking, which was
Right.
the last beer.
Which is fine by me.
On the nose, that is really hot.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of booze in that.
Boozy. This is a boozy beer. What, 12.9 you said?
Yeah.
It's going to be a big hitter.
Yeah, according to Untappd, we're looking at a 12.9.
Okay, all right. Shall we?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, now-
That is almost the definition of a barrel aged beer.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I hear barrel aged. It's something like this.
Yeah, again, like all that bourbon flavor is on the nose, but it's also in the mouthfeel as well.
Right. And this is borderline maple syrup in terms of thickness.
Yeah.
Especially compared to that Four Seasons.
Yeah, that Four Seasons doesn't hold a candle.
No, it does not. So we've been talking a lot about this beer. What
Yeah.
do you got?
So I told you about my dad who gave me my first sip of beer when I was 4, right? To quote my dad, this beer will put hair on your chest.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. I mean, it's strong, it's powerful, and it's got a kick, definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not drinking a big glass of this right now.
I can already feel it.
I know. So is there any coconut involved in this?
Not that I know of, no.
Because it almost feels like I'm feeling some sort of coconut taste to it. I could be wrong. It's happened twice before.
Okay. No, I'm not. No, I think it's just more of a chocolate, and Oskar Blues does have their own coconut beer, which is Death by Coconut.
Ah, that's right.
But that I don't think that has anything to do with the 1050 or this barrel aged version.
Okay. I'm going to take one more sip and then we're going to jump back in because I'm really liking this beer.
Yeah, basically, if you love the 1050, then you love barrel aged beers, then you're gonna love this.
Yeah. We've had this beer on tap at Patrick's Pub. We have Shawn here to talk about Patrick's Pub a little bit. So one of the biggest questions that I've always had on my mind whenever I go to a bar that always has a good beer selection is how do you select the beers that you put on tap? Is there any sort of criteria that you set forth, or is there any sort of particular brewery you look for, or just whatever looks good at the time? Let's see what happens.
We have a little bit of all the above there. So my clientele is very broad. I cater to anybody who's a customer should be welcome at Patrick's Pub and find a beer they want. From your Yingling drinker to your barrel-aged 1050. I try to have a little bit of everything. So a barrel-aged beer is pretty much landed on my board year-round now. You can almost always come in and find some sort of aged barrel beer, whether it's whiskey, rum, wine, and kind of a barley wine. So I've been keeping it pretty consistent and trying to run that. Lately, I've landed a sour on my board pretty much. I would say I went on for about 2 months, but I had it on for about 6 months straight. We ran a sour. So the biggest thing I'm trying to do is appeal to the broad range of the craft beer drinker. I'm not trying to specialize just in the IPAs, which obviously are big movers. But you got to have your lager too for your people that want to get into the craft beer but don't want to go in and get knocked out. As you guys know, we have some big beers on the draft list, and part of the allure of my clientele is, most of the clientele are responsible craft beer drinkers. They know when they come in, they're going to have a hop slam, and then they're going to drop down to something that's going to be like 6.5%. I don't need a clientele coming in here and trying to drink 5 hop slams.
That's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Night. So really the selection is, I try to broaden it. I go by the time of the year. We get around St. Patty's Day, you're going to find some stouts on my board. I hope to have at least minimum 4, if not 5 stouts heading into the week of St. Patrick's Week. That will be my busiest week of the year, and we're an Irish pub. So, we just try to keep it mixed up, keep everybody happy.
The one thing that I am very glad coming here is, and I've seen a lot of places fall into this trap, is the IPA trap, where half the board are IPAs or pale ales. And as somebody that does not like IPAs much at all, it eliminates a whole bunch of the taps. And what I like here is you have that breadth of variety. So yeah, the IPAs will be there, but there are also many other varieties that caters to everybody. And I'm glad that Pat's has not fallen into that IPA trap.
We do like the IPAs here, as I am a little bit of a hophead, I've been known. But generally we'll have. Sometimes we may go a little far left. It depends on how busy we are with certain barrels, but you're always going to find, I try to have a marquee IPA on at all times. By marquee, I mean a solid double or triple IPA for the guy that really wants that 1 or 2 really good beers. And then you're going to have some other IPAs just to, balance it out, because you can't be drinking Stone and Joy by, Hop Slam, all those great beers out there all night long. But yeah, you're right. We do definitely want to balance it, because my customer is you, my customer is me, my customer is Christine. Everyone's got different tastes. Yep. If you can't cater to all of them, they won't come in.
So something we mentioned earlier in the episode was about how Pat is kind of a hidden gem within the Moon Township and kind of Beaver County area as well, depending on who's coming out here. But you guys seem to have this. You've been operating independently of everybody else and their taste in that way. And has Pat's always been that way with the craft beer? You just said that you're your own customer, so obviously it's part of your taste in the craft beer. So is that something you brought when you just opened Pat's, or? Sure.
Well, Patrick's been up since 1999. At that point in time, we were pretty much a U.S. Air neighborhood watering hole. So it's definitely evolved. As the airport changed. We started catering to the community. We're actually a restaurant. I do more food sales than anything else. So we have a solid dining room, catering business. We're a little bit of everything. You can have your party here. We can bring it to you. When it comes to the beer department, we've evolved. When we did the first remodel, I bought the place in '99. Remodeled the existing bar that was already there. And then in 2006, by then we had bought the building. The convenience store closed down. We put a dining room in. And back that was still smoking, non-smoking category in Pennsylvania. So my dining room was smoke-free, catering to families. The bar was still smoking, but then those laws changed pretty quickly. By 2007, they were mandating it to be smoke-free for the whole place based on my food sales. And as we evolved, the craft beer started taking off for me about 2006. And of course, with the boom, it really exploded around 2009, 2010. We started being able to get a little clientele around the Moon Township area because there wasn't much offering to craft beer here.
Right.
But of course, we do still sell domestic beer, not just strictly a craft beer bar, but we have a great selection, and we've earned our clientele has trusted us to bring quality beers at a fair price for everyone to enjoy.
So with that, you mentioned how you were expanding when you first opened. You're expanding again. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's been a process for the past about 4 years or so. We had a parking problem because our parking lot wasn't big enough. So we secured the 2 lots to the right of Patrick's Pub and built a 71 spot parking lot, which was a massive undertaking with zoning and all the obstacles in Moon Township. When that got completed, amazingly enough, my other neighbor on the left-hand side decided she wanted to sell. So we bought her house, and with her house, we subdivided the property again, and we are now building an outdoor bar, which will be completed in about 2 weeks and open in April.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice.
It's going to be sharp. It's going to be unlike anything out here in the West Hills. It's going to be a full-service bar seating about 48 people, covered roof. The same drafts that you see in-house will be available outside, in the outside area. So we have a courtyard too that'll have cornhole, several large family-style tables, or lack of better terms, a big picnic table that will not be covered. So the capacity in the outdoor bar area should be somewhere in the 80-person range. So it should be quite interesting. The existing bar has been expanded, so it shouldn't be as crowded. We're on top of each other. That's been an issue. We've been so busy that everyone is really comfortable in here and very cozy.
That's one of those good problems, though.
Yeah.
I know it gets packed up
All
in
these
here.
problems are good. Good to have issues like that. Now we put in 2 pool tables, and we're looking to land a few pool teams. We already have one team that's coming in looking to get another one.
Good.
Awesome.
So big changes happening all right now. We'll be done very soon.
So when you guys have the grand opening for the patio, let us know. We will be there.
Probably a soft opening and a big grand opening party after we figure out all the kinks.
Awesome. I'm going to throw this out to both Christine and Shawn. We've gone through a lot of beer tonight. I just wondering, is there any specific beer that like tops your list as like, this is my favorite? Like, what is your favorite craft?
Man, that's a hard question to answer. It depends on the day. It depends on the mood,
Yeah.
Boy, if I'm in the mood for a rye IPA, I like the Terrapin products. They're awesome. If I'm in the mood for a stout, an Erie Skipper Stout's always good.
Absolutely. Especially on nitro.
That's one of Adam's go-tos.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We have a nitro line too. Dedicated nitro line. And the variety is always there at Patrick's.
Springtime, we like the Bell's Oberon because that means summer's coming.
Yep.
Any of the Great Lakes products are good. Like, those are just my personal preferences. But I think the best one we ever had was when at one of the tastings, we did a blind tasting, and we had people try the Pabst Blue Ribbon. Do you remember that,
Oh,
Shawn?
jeez.
That was kind of my
As a
mistake.
kind of joke. We did that just to mess with
I think we were supposed to do the old tankard, the PVC or PBR old tankard, but there was a miscommunication, and we served our guests the Pabst Blue Ribbon, which we made up for, by the way. We corrected that mistake.
We had a 7 tasting that night.
So did anybody actually guess that it was PBR?
No, that was the fight. People were telling me, "Oh, this tastes like a Bell's product." I'm thinking, what? So yes, I guess it's not as bad as I think it is, but
The hipsters are onto something.
How about you, Shawn? You have a favorite beer?
I would say my go-to beer is Stone. I love Enjoy By, without a doubt. Every time it comes out, I gotta manage to get a case to my house. But it depends on the time of the year, what's going on. I'm a big fan of the Saugatuck Neapolitan Stout.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we've had that on the show before.
Yeah,
Very
That's
good.
pretty tasty.
Very good.
There's a lot of good beers out there. Dale's Pale Ale is good. It really depends on where I'm at, how many I want to drink, and what I'm going to do. If I'm on a golf course, the Oberon's great.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Summertime, you got to jump on the session IPAs when you're out in the sun. But definitely, as the rest of, I know you're not a hotbed, but the IPAs sell. I mean, we sell way more IPA than any other beer.
Really?
Stout here. Oh, IPAs are still moving.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Why are you surprised by that? The New England hazy IPA
Well,
is
that's
like
true. Yeah.
Like, you're just surprised
hottest
because
drink.
you don't drink that stuff.
Well, because that's a realm I don't go into.
Yeah.
It's it's a locked closet. I just don't go over there.
You know, those bourbon barrel beers are good. Founder's Doom is quite an interesting
Oh
beer.
yes. Oh yes.
You know, it just depends on your mood. I mean, if you're sitting around the fire and Founder's Doom sounds like a good beer to be drinking. Seven Springs on the couch, fire blazing, give me a Doom.
Now you're talking.
Nice.
Now you're talking.
Which, you know, Seven Springs, we have some good beers on tap up there too, but that's private.
That's the private stash.
That's
I
the
like
private Patrick stash.
it. So, is there anything that you have wanted to get on tap here, but you haven't been able to yet? Sort of a holy grail beer.
Holy Grail beer. We've been trying to get Sam Adams.
Utopias?
Oh no.
Oh, geez, yeah. We were trying to get that. That didn't work out. No, I mean, most of the beers we're able to secure. I mean, we've had KBS on draft.
Okay.
That's a tough one to get. I had it last year. We got a quarter barrel, and we always get a couple cases. So generally, we're able to get stuff, and we're like the hidden gem. I mean, I've had people drive half hour, 45 minutes because they saw we had KBS on our draft list. So for the most part, you know, we're able to secure what we need to serve our customers.
Just another thing to mention, you guys do have like your own little bottle section that you can sell from too. So you can pick up a sixer of Doom if you.
Yeah, the six-pack shop definitely offers a lot more of the higher end beers than you will see at your Giant Eagle, etc. We definitely have our basic, you know, basic mainline, streamline, Hop Devil, Perpetual, you know, 2 IPAs we sell all the time. I always carry Dale's Pale Ale, but I definitely bring in the oddball stuff. You know, you might occasionally find a 120 minute over there.
Yep.
I think I've seen Worldwide Stout over there as well.
Worldwide Stout
Yeah.
hit over there, so I mean, some hidden gems hit there because everything I carry, you know, some of the higher end beers we'll stock in the 6-pack shop, sell them to you by the bottle, but you can still buy them by the 4-pack on the way out if you want.
Okay.
So we've definitely got a loyal clientele coming in there looking for some of the higher end stuff that you will not see at your mainstream 6-pack shops.
Yeah.
And I know even for the show.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say for the show, back in episode 25, we did an old Dogfish Head episode, and that's because I found the higher math in
Higher
one of the
math,
coolers.
there you
I was like, I've never seen this before, and I'm pretty sure it's out of production. We're like, well, I guess that's the episode.
That beer will age for a while.
Yeah.
Now, we get some. I bought a fair amount of Tro's Grand Cru,
Oh yeah.
so that one I'm holding on to also, and that beer is going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, you might see a Grand Cru, and I bought 3 12-packs of that, and you know, from talking to my Tro's reps, you know, people age those.
Right.
I'm actually aging some Mad Elf right now for
Nice.
7 Springs. That taste off's supposed to happen pretty soon. We got 4 years worth.
I tried to do that. I didn't make it through Christmas Eve.
We tied them up and put them in a bag and said, "Do not touch."
Awesome.
Since we're gonna have the new patio and everything, since I got both of you here, is there a possibility of having a beer tasting outside on the new patio?
110%.
I like it. I
How
like
about a
it.
beer tasting on the patio every month?
Oh, in the summertime for sure.
All right, that's what we want to hear.
All right.
So I mean, we should be on the patio, you know, all summer long.
Nice.
On Tuesday nights, whenever we choose. So we do have one party already booked on Tuesday, so you're off that one. We got to work around that.
Oh, we'll have to do a different Tuesday then.
Different Tuesday. No, I mean, you're
work around
able to
that.
reserve that. If people want to call up,
Yeah.
they can definitely reserve the patio as long as the price is right.
Well, bottom line, when you have the grand opening, let us know. We will be there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think that's going to do good maybe for the beer tasting group too, because you know, Shawn already said it's like an 80-person capacity as compared to the dining room, which yeah, is a little smaller.
Your numbers went up.
Yeah.
You can take the whole thing over.
We'll take it over. We'll take it over. World
and-
domination.
That's right. And once you get the Hop Nation bump, you're gonna be turning people.
You got
around.
that right. Overflow. Standing room only.
That's right.
Adam, please don't promise things like that.
Yeah, I would just, you know, Christine does a good job of promoting it, and I try to promote it through my social media. You know, and that's patrickspub.org is my website, And you can follow us on Twitter at Patrick's Moon Township, and Facebook is Patrick's Pub and Grill is our Facebook page. And then we do have an Instagram account, and that's Patrick's Moon Township also.
Right on.
Awesome.
Right on.
Good plugs.
So if I could return the compliment. So there's a reason we're going into our 4th year here, and it's because Shawn and Patrick's have been such a good partner to us. So the fist pump. So the service is great, the food is great. Shawn is really wonderful to work with as far as selecting the beers for us, and he's very accommodating, and he always tells me whatever you want. So we're gonna have to keep raising the bar, see how far I can stretch that.
Every now and then I throw her a lifeline. What did I give you? I gave you the vintage Chimay.
Yes.
What was that again?
Oh, I forget now. Was it the blue one? I can't remember.
Oh, the reserve. Was it?
It was the Magnum. It was the vintage Magnum Reserve.
Oh, wow.
And somehow I scored a case of it. Don't even ask me how. But we had a case of it. I'm like, you know what? We're going to pop one out to the beer tasting and let them enjoy that.
Yeah.
So there's some bonuses that pop in here and there.
So thank you, Shawn, for being a good
You're
partner
welcome.
to us.
Very cool.
Another 4 years coming up.
I like it.
Hopefully.
I like it. With a patio.
With the
Yeah.
Yep. Phase 1 is about completed. Phase 2, hopefully within the next year and a half.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Yeah, we definitely look forward
And I'm
to
done.
it. It's time to kick back and relax a little
I
bit.
don't know about kicking back. I'm done spending money.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Shawn kick back. I've seen him every time I'm here. He's around. He's not an owner that sits back and just collects.
We're actually very fortunate that he's been able to spend some time with us today. Because I know you're very busy doing other things today.
I'm going to go paint.
And we do thank you for hopping on here for a little
No
bit.
problem. Appreciate it. Hey, I want to thank you guys very much for coming out here today. Appreciate it.
Well, thank
Hey.
you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for letting us record here. Thanks for hosting us.
We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
So yeah, the 1050 barrel aged. We don't need to say much about it, really.
I think we already said enough.
It's one of the. It's a extremely excellent beer.
Yes.
I can't get enough of it, and I'm tempted to have another.
I'm not your doctor. I'm not going to tell you
I
that.
know, I'm my doctor.
And your doctor says yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Christine, do you have anything to add about this one?
No, I just keep coming back to my dad's old saying, you know, it'll put hair on your chest. And
Yeah.
after we're done here, I'm going to go check.
Yeah, bottom line, this is a really good beer.
Yeah, it's a killer. I mean, the 1050 is already a killer stout, so when you ramp it up like this, it can only do good things.
It goes all the way to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to add though that, like, I think normally I would not like a beer like this because it tastes the bourbon in it, you know. But recently I've been exposed to whiskey and bourbon.
Okay.
Right, so I'm learning about different flavors of moonshine, whiskey, bourbon, and I'm finding that I kind of like that. Right, so I think that because I have that experience, that makes me like this beer even more. You know, somebody whose palate is not that, I don't want to say advanced, but that hasn't been exposed to that maybe, probably won't like this beer. But it's definitely strong, and yeah, having that history, I'm surprised how much I like this one.
Cool. Well, at the end of every episode, we like to take the 3 beers that we tried throughout the episode and kind of rank them against each other. Doesn't ever really mean anything, but
No, it doesn't. no, especially tonight since it's
it's just all over the place. We're just trying taps.
Right.
But and again, that also plays to how a little beer tasting goes, because you're likely to try whatever Pat's has on tap, and Pat's keeps a pretty eclectic mix.
Right.
With that, I'll give it to you, Christine. Go ahead, give a bronze, silver, and gold rating for the 3 beers we had tonight.
So I'll go backwards. So my third, the bronze award, will go to what was the second one we tried, the coffee?
The Four Seasons Coffee
Four
Porter.
Seasons Coffee. And not by any means was that a bad beer, but out of the 3, that's the one that I didn't like the most. I don't want to say like the least because that sounds bad.
Right.
My silver award will go to the barrel-aged stout, only because it's a little bit stronger for my taste, and I'm still kind of entering this realm. So I recognize that it's a really good beer, but for my taste, it's not number 1. And that leaves number 1 as the sour that we tasted.
The Destihl Wild Sour Cranberry Creek.
However you say that last word.
But yeah, so that one reminded me of how much I liked the sour beers. And it wasn't too strong where even I, after all this time, went, "Ugh, I can't believe I'm drinking this." Mild sweet tart flavor, and it just put a smile on my face. And like I said, I want to go home and drink that with my apple crisp.
For me, I'm gonna go bronze with the Destihl. It's still not a favorite style for me. So it was pretty good though. I would try more from their Wild Sour series simply because I'm interested in how they come about with that. Like a lot of sour beers are too much for me.
Well,
This one wasn't, so I'm willing to try more from them.
it came up against a Steak Jack with you.
Oh yeah,
regardless.
well yeah, it came up against beers that I really like anyway. So the silver I'm going to give to the Four Seasons Coffee Porter. It's pretty decent beer, and we already said like it could be a gateway to a coffee drinker and a dark beer drinker in general, because it does have that little bit of thinness to it. It's not a super heavy beer. It's not a super boozy beer. It's not it's not pushing in any direction too hard, but it does have a really decent coffee flavor to it. It's pronounced and it's there, so you're at least not getting screwed over that way. But definitely gold medal goes to this 1050 barrel aged. I just was so excited when I saw it on there. I think it's important to note, all the other good things that I've already said about it, even though it is like 12.9%, it's not super boozy on the mouth. Like, it smells really hot. It smells really alcohol, alcohol-y. But it doesn't taste like it doesn't burn when I drink it. So that's a plus in that category. A lot of barrel-aged beers tend to be too hot that way. Adam?
So I'm gonna differ from both of you.
Okay.
For me, the bronze medal is actually going to go to the Four Seasons Coffee Porter, and the biggest reason for that is the thinness, the mouthfeel on it. It got better as it got warmer, but it, like everybody here said, that was like the first thing that you noticed.
Yeah.
Was that it seemed thin. The coffee flavor and the coffee nose was definitely there, and they did not sell it short on that aspect. Unfortunately, the mouthfeel just kind of that dominated the conversation.
Right.
And with a porter, yeah, you can have a thin mouthfeel, but I prefer something that's a little more beefy. And this just didn't have that even after it warmed up. With that in mind, my silver medal is actually going to go to the Destihl,
Okay.
the sour. I like that beer. I like sour beers. That one was definitely a good one. And it would have been in the gold medal position. However, unfortunately, it came up against Goliath.
Yeah.
In that 1050 barrel age. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
That's a big beer. That's a good beer.
Oh, there's no smoke in it. It's a barrel age.
That's next year's batch. Hint.
Wow.
Hint.
Wow. I'd be about that.
So. It was just, yes, it's 12.9%. Yes, it's got that big boozy nose to it. And it's thick. It's maple syrup. Well, holy crap, is it good. It's just good. And I can drink that all night sitting next to a campfire.
Yeah.
And I would be a happy camper. Up, down, left, and right. No doubt about it. So that goes into the gold medal position. I think we have ourselves a pretty good variety here.
Yeah, good variety all around. Let's turn it over to Christine. Why don't you give all the plugs and all the places that Little Beer Tasting can be found?
Sure, thank you.
There's a camera here. There's a camera here.
Now that you know that you're going to have even more room,
Yeah.
it's time to get more people in.
We have to double our size. So we're on the web at littletasting.com. We are on Facebook at A Little Tasting. We sell tickets on Eventbrite, so if you'd like to join us, you can visit our website for all the information. There'll be a link to buy tickets on Eventbrite. We charge $12 to attend the tasting, and again, that covers 6 4-ounce samples, sometimes bonus beers, so you never know. Usually every third Tuesday, just the way the schedules work, but sometimes we have to flip a week or something, so it's not, don't plan on it for always being that third Tuesday of the week.
It's not set in stone, but you guys do a pretty good job of like sending out emails and letting us know when. So
Yes, thank you. So if you visit our website, again, at littletasting.com, you can sign up for our email list. And then we will be sure to email you when the next date is coming and when tickets are on sale. And also you can follow us on Facebook for that information as well.
Awesome.
All right. Now it's your turn.
Now my turn.
Because I've never done this before, so you have to do them.
So for us, if you want to find us on the social media in any way, you search Hop Nation USA, and that'll find us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And if you want to listen to brand new episodes of the Hop Nation USA podcast, then all you got to do is search Hop Nation USA, a craft beer podcast, and that on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Music Play. And if you're on iTunes, subscribe and leave us a 5-star review because we are a 5-star show.
Damn right.
And you can go on the HopNationUSA.com website for features and reviews that you won't find anywhere else. That's all.
Nice. I do want to once again extend some thanks to the staff here at Patrick's Pub. They have helped us out a lot here. They've been very accommodating. We got all sorts of wires going everywhere. We've got computers, we've got microphones going all over the place, and they've been nothing but helpful.
We have to tip well today.
Oh, we certainly will. We certainly will. So I want to thank the staff here at Patrick's Pub. I want to thank Shawn, the owner-operator of Patrick's Pub. I want to thank Christine, obviously, for coming on to the show. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We will take over the world together.
There we go. Partners in crime.
So with that, Steve, you got anything else to add?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Christine, any last words?
I'm good. Come check us out.
Every third Tuesday, AlittleTasting.com. I said that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So with that, thanks for joining us again, Hop Nation, and we will see you next week.